Hello once again, it's Matthew here from MatthewNorthMusic. Thank you for watching my channel, and as ever, if the stuff I do on this channel is of interest to you, be it about music, electronics, retro tech or anything like that, then please hit the subscribe button. It really does help the channel to grow. And if you find what I do interesting, sharing my videos on social media is always something really helpful. Right, today we're talking about this, the Beatles Anthology, and specifically the TV series. Now, it came out on television in about 30 years ago, 95 I think it came out on TV, or was it 96? I can't remember. I think it was 95 anyway. And it was a very good series. And then they brought it out on VHS, they brought it out on Laserdisc, and eventually they brought the whole thing out on DVD. And I think the DVDs are actually still available. They certainly were up until a short time ago anyway. And it was a groundbreaking documentary when it first came out. There's no shadow of doubt about it. It was absolutely full of material, because this is pre-YouTube, this is pre-internet. Most of these clips hadn't been seen really since they were first on television. The odd thing got repeated now and again. And you had loads of interviews with all the people still alive that were around. And it was absolutely groundbreaking. And to go with the TV series, they did the Anthology CD. Now, my Anthology CDs are in this rather nice little box, and I'll show it to you a little bit close up. So I don't know how this happened, but back in the 90s, they made this wraparound box, which I think it was just given away in shops to people that had bought all 3 CDs. I managed to find a new old stock one of these a few years ago, and even though it's had a little bit of a knock on the top, it's still not bad really. But it was quite a nice thing to keep the CDs in, and in a way, it's a shame that the new Anthology 4 isn't in the same fat box design for people to have to go with the other 3. But then again, digipacks do look quite nice. But it's an interesting little set. Anyhow, yesterday they released the first 3 episodes on Disney Plus, and I subscribed to Disney Plus to watch them. I went for the cheap option, which was $5.99 a month with adverts. And actually there wasn't many adverts. There was probably one advert about every 10 minutes for 30 seconds. And bearing in mind, when this program was on ITV back in the 90s, there was 3 ad breaks, and they were probably about 3 minutes each. So it's not too bad really. You get what you pay for, and I'm quite happy to pay £6 rather than a tenner just to endure 30 seconds of ads every 10 or 15 minutes. Now, watching it, straight away you could tell they've spent a lot of time and effort cleaning up the pictures, particularly of all the stuff shot on film, and even what we call stock footage, material from other places that they have in the intro section. Like there's a very famous clip of Lonnie Donegan doing Rock Iron Line. There's the Big Bill Broonzy clip from the Today Show, and various other, or the Tonight Show I should say, and various other clips, and they have been absolutely beautifully cleaned up. There's not a scratch or a blemish on it. It all looks really stunning. Now, for the more technically minded among you, the aspect ratio issue, the whole thing has been made in 16:9, but a lot of the material that was originally 4:3, they've kept as 4:3. So a lot of the clips and whatnot from TV, it's all in its original aspect ratio. The stuff that's been blown up to widescreen, which would have originally been shot in 4:3, so it's been cropped slightly, is all the 16mm interview footage. So all the interviews, obviously clips from films like Help and Hard Day's Night, they're all in widescreen because they were obviously made for the cinema in the first place. But yeah, the TV stuff is all kept in its original geometry. And most importantly, there's none of this fake, blurred backgrounds behind anything, which is one of my personal pet hates. I find blurred backgrounds the most offensive thing you can possibly put on television, and there's none of that nonsense. And from a purely technical point of view, it's a beautifully cut, edited set of programs. As far as TV making is concerned, 10 out of 10 all the way. And with this, we've also got remastering of the sound. Now, straight away, when you hear the clips of That'll Be the Day and In Spite of All the Danger, I mean, the way they've been cleaned up is nothing short of a miracle. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. Then we look at the sound. Well, Peter Jackson's MAL software has been absolutely astounding in what they've been able to do on this film. The way they've cleaned up, for example, the early demo recordings of That'll Be the Day and In Spite of All the Danger. I mean, you wouldn't recognise it now. It just sounds so good. And they've even taken things like the Star Club tapes, and to me, it sounds like they're in stereo now. And you know, really clean and strong. And with other footage, like for example the Washington concert material and some of the TV stuff, you finally hear the bass and the kick drum properly. And certainly the Washington concert, I mean, that sounds absolutely extraordinary. So they have done an amazing job cleaning up the sound. The only thing I heard that sounded a little bit off was when they played a clip of My Bonnie. Now, that was originally recorded in proper stereo in Hamburg with Bert Kaempfert, but it just sounded a bit odd, and I'm not sure why. Whether they have tried tinkering with that or not, I don't know. But that's one of the things that should be left well alone, because those Hamburg recordings, I think, sound absolutely stunning. And also what sounded very good were the Decca audition tapes. Now, I don't know if they've done much work to those or not, but to my ears, they certainly sounded a lot better than, well, certainly a lot better than the versions that I've listened to, which is usually those LPs that came out in the early 80s. I know they're on Anthology as well, but I haven't listened to the Anthology versions for quite some time, if I'm being honest. Now, we live in this slightly different age now. When Anthology first came out, it was 8 one-hour episodes, less ad breaks. So really, they were about 50 minutes long. Then when they brought them out on VHS, they extended them quite substantially. And then those cuts made it to the Laserdisc version, which I used to have. And then I think they may have done a little bit more tinkering to do the DVD sets. But, you know, the DVD sets are what most Beatles fans of the last at least 20 years will know. And the big problem with this new version is they've gone back to running the length of it to the TV version. And when I was watching it, I was thinking, well, that was over really quick. And I watched all 3 episodes, and I assumed I'd be up till about 1 or 2 in the morning, and by midnight I was done. And yeah, they've just basically done the TV cut rather than the extended cut, which I know is going to annoy an awful lot of people. And to be honest, I don't blame them, because, you know, they've gone to all this trouble to remaster and remake these programs. And also they've actually done a very good job with graphics and title sequences and things. I think they've remade a lot of those as well. Some graphic sequences are in, or multi-camera edits, they're still left in 4:3, and you can see some noise artifacts. So there's obviously some bits they probably didn't have the source elements to remake whatever the section was, or they ran out of time or whatever. So they've just been upscaled and kept as they were. To be honest, doesn't make a lot of difference. You're not going to notice it unless you know, happen to work in television and can spot these things. But yeah, so they are all very short. And as I said, because they spent so much time working on this stuff, why they couldn't have just had the extended edits in? I mean, I think what most people were wishing for, because we live in an age of post Get Back, that instead of each episode being 50 minutes long, each episode would be, say, 2 hours long. I mean, personally, there's more than enough to fill up 2 hours of each episode in stories, particularly if you've read the Mark Lewisham book or listened to the audiobook as I did, because that Mark Lewisham book, the Tune In one, goes up to 1962. And that period of time, that the audiobook is 45 hours long, that period of time is condensed to about 15 minutes in one episode. And I think it was a mistake, because I think you could have put a lot more in that went on, particularly, you know, the number of different drummers that the Beatles had. And, you know, I mean, even things that have, so much new information has come out about the Beatles since Anthology. And I think this is the problem. I think they should have literally gone back to the drawing board and remade each episode, rather than just taking something and cleaning it up. I know as a historical document, it's nice to have, this is how it went out on TV, we've just cleaned it up. But I think in this day and age, we really should have had a much more in-depth, a much more extended version of the whole documentary. I mean, for example, when they did that talent contest, and they didn't win in the early days, the people that won was actually Graham Nash and Alan Clark from the Hollies. So why couldn't you have had Graham Nash not in there talking about it, you know? I mean, I understand this is the Beatles and it's coming from the people that were there and nobody else, but I think there is room to have expanded it. And I think that's the biggest issue of it for me, is the fact it's a 30-year-old documentary that, even though it stands up on its own, and if you've never seen a program about the Beatles before, it's a very informative documentary. And the other stuff actually that I should mention is the way they've cleaned up and they've restored all the Maisel brothers footage from '64 when they first went to America. I mean, that whole section in the film is in the anthology is really, really good. Beautifully clean pictures and great sound, and they've kept that uninterrupted, and it's really nice to see clips like that. And actually, while I've got Disney Plus, I will actually watch the new cut of Beatles '64, even though a lot of people say it's not very good. I've never actually seen the Maisel brothers thing in full. I've seen bits of it, and I have got the DVD that came out a while back, although I've not got around to watching it yet. So yeah, we'll watch that soon. I might even do a review of it, you know, posthumous, because everyone else has seen it already. But yeah, in short then, how do I feel about this set? Well, I think it's really good to see all the clips in nice quality. And yeah, none of the songs are completely full, but then you kind of don't need them really full, because we know those songs. We all know the Beatles songs. So it's just nice to see all the stuff cleaned up. And like I said, if you haven't seen the anthology for a long time, then it is, you know, it's a good thing to watch. I mean, yes, there are issues, you know. There's continuity issues, particularly with George Harrison's facial hair, because one minute he's got a moustache, the next minute he hasn't, but they shot the interview in the same building. It's in a TV edit suite somewhere, and a lot of the Ringo interviews are shot in the same place. But I think as the story goes on, they're filmed in different places, and I think we see even more different George facial hair in it. But yeah, it's, like I said, it's been really well remastered, technically really, really good. The only downside technically is some of the stuff that was shot and exists on videotape has now been given the kind of the film look. But that's kind of the way TV's made these days. You know, it was probably all cut at 25 frames progressive, because most of it's from film, and that's a progressive format. So they probably just kept it all like that. Bit of a shame. Whereas on the DVD and the original series, all the films, all the TV stuff was kept in TV format and did look pristine. But that aside, I think they've done, it's 10 out of 10 all the way for how it's been restored. It's 10 out of 10 all the way for a programme that was made 30 years ago. Does it stand up today? Mostly it does, but I really feel there should be a new cut of it. And also, if you've seen any of the bootleg DVDs, the sort of the early edits of this, again, there's more material in it. I know some of that ended up in the official version, but yeah, I think really they should have as I said, started from the beginning and made 8 episodes, made them all 2 hours long, then you wouldn't need the 9-minute thing at the end because all that stuff will be incorporated in it, or the episode 9 that they've done. But again, from what I've been reading, and I watched a Beatly Tone video about this a couple of days ago, this new episode, episode 9, to all intents and purposes, is a slightly cut down version of the bonus disc from the box set. And while there are a few extended fragments here and there, you know, there's not huge amounts added to it, which again is a shame. Anyway, hope you've liked my take on this. What do you think? Leave a comment below. I'll catch you on the next one.